meetings, I advise the board some problems that we're having with the implementation process of the new world system software into the SECC and various entities. I reported that we had a number of software issues, we had some hardware issues, we had configuration system issues, we had problems with standalone laptops and computers in various agencies, we had problems with air cards, and also we had a human factor that was involved in implementing a new process. With all the various different agencies that we have, we felt at SECC that it was prudent on our behalf to have DeltaWorks, which was a company that worked with us in the RFP process and the business needs assessment and the contract negotiation to come in and take a look to see where we were at this given point in time. And so they did come in, they made a recommendation of about 7 different recommendations, of which we've looked at. We can handle about 5 of those internally with the different agencies and with the management team. And 2 of them, we felt that we needed assistance with New World Systems. And so they have drafted up a proposal for us. And what they have proposed to do is to negotiate a test plan with New World Systems for the new software release that's coming out that we're testing at this given time. They would also guide SECC in developing workflow scenarios, develop testing documentation. They would also assist the SECC project manager in implementing a test plan, and also work with SECC and New World Systems to prioritize discrepancies. They would also monitor progress by New World Systems. And in 2009, when I came to the board asking for the approval of the contract for New World Systems, DeltaWorks at that time indicated that they would have assisted with project management in the amount of approximately $80,000. At that point, in hindsight, not knowing what we know now, we thought that New World Systems had good project management capabilities. We had a person dedicated to be able to bring this up. And now that we're in the rears of all of this and looking at it, we feel that it's important to bring them on to assist. And at this point, we wouldn't have to pay $80,000 because we've gone so far into the implementation process. But for them to assist us at this point would be about, is $30,000, and in which I'm recommending approval from the board to go with, and they'll assist us in the conclusion of implementing this process with New World Systems.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move the approval of the contract with DeltaWorks for the consulting services outlined before us in the resolution that's before us. Way back, you're seconding it.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Yes, we've had extensive discussions. Our city police chief, fire chief, city manager, administrator, myself, with Brian, and we've concluded that this is necessary to make sure the system is the way we want it originally intended to be. And we got about $28 million invested out there already, plant, equipment, staff. So to make it right, make sure it functions the way it was intended to be, we're going to support this. Hopefully it will address some of the issues that have come up with our police departments and improve the system to the extent that it's necessary to provide quality service. We were told originally that it's going to take a year to work out the wrinkles, work out the problems with new system, new people, new operations, and I think this is in keeping with that. But let me just say, if this doesn't make the system right, we'll have to take another look at it at a later date and make whatever adjustments we're going to continue to provide. We will provide quality communication throughout Scott County. That's what we promised the voters years ago, prior to my being on the board. And I think this is part of that commitment. So that's why I support it.
I think it's good to have an outside disinterested party looking at this because they can take a look and see and view things, because each entity, including SECC, has a vested interest at stake at this. And so when they come in and look at it from an outside perspective, it assists greatly in a project that is this intricate.
The $30,000, I've heard, I've asked you before, but for everybody's sake, we have that money. It's not an add-on, it's not extra expense. Would you explain where you're going to get that money, or where that money is?
Certainly, you hired me to manage a budget, and that I do, and I make adjustments within the budget. Since we're 6 months into this now, I make adjustments within that budget to be able to fit that in, and I see no issues with this whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I'd like to take a moment here to commend you, Brian, and recognizing that there's some issues out here as far as the implementation of this thing, and to reach out to a third party and make that decision to involve somebody else to oversee and help to diffuse some of the finger pointing that's going on, and try to identify objectively where the problems are. And Delta Works has done, I've read this report a couple of times, and has done a remarkable job in reaching out to the agencies and downstream to get their input on what's really going on down here. And they've got some interesting conclusions. But rather than continue looking at what has happened already, they go forward and have us emphasize to us to review some of the recommendations to overcome these difficulties we had here. And the plan that they've put out here for us to follow, meaning SEC and New World Systems, and the area agencies involved, looks like it's a pretty good sweeping recommendation here that's got nothing but good results at the end of it if we all follow this thing. What I also like about this too is it also reaches down to the lower levels of implementation, which is people in the streets, as I mentioned last meeting here, and it involves them not only for getting input of what's wrong, but it's supposed to feed information back down to them, to how the areas of the problems are being resolved and what the solution has been, so that they can continue in that loop. With that there, I think that's a piece of the missing link that's going to go a long ways. Again, it's got a good structure here that we need to follow, all the agencies and entities. We as leaders need to buy into it all the way down the line. And this thing will work. Delta Works has said that this thing will work if we all follow their recommendations. And I for one would commend you for that, and Delta Works has worked in this, and I'd be supportive of this. And thank you very much.
Thanks. I think that the New World Systems Company is in this as well. I think they want to see it succeed as much as anybody else. And all we have to do as a team is make sure that we come together and do this. I remember when I started this project that I indicated to the board that the CAD-RMS project is the most difficult. It's more difficult than the building, the radio projects, telephone systems, the personnel, and that's what we're in the midst of. And we do have some issues that we're working through, and I'd like the board to keep in mind that all of the projects, the other 20 to 25 projects, are moving along, they're running smoothly, the operation is working well to this point.
Let me also add too, I think the structure is coming up that in various levels, as we try to resolve this here, along the line, sooner or later, you're running into gatekeepers constantly of information and resolution process. And we need to revisit our gatekeepers of the information to get them back on board here, so that when things come up, they're making sure that things are going back down also, so people in the whole system, from top to bottom, understand what the problems are, how we get that information to them, and how it's being resolved. And if it's not being resolved, they need to continue. We need to continue working on that too. So, gatekeepers are going to be key to this. Thank you.
I thought it was an excellent report that Delta Works did. I said they take no prisoners. They spelled it out pretty clearly. I'm very confident that it will work if we all work as a team. I'm equally as confident that it won't work if everybody doesn't work as a team. So I think that's something that we all have to take a look at and work together to make it happen.
Mr. Chairman, may I comment?
Please.
First of all, I'd just like to say that I wholeheartedly agree with the comments that have been made so far. To the extent that everybody needs to cooperate in this process, we smaller issues are taken care of. My hat's off to the staff and that they were able to forego the $50,000 expenditure. And unfortunately, I think what we may see are people that say clearly there's a $30,000 expenditure and forget that there's a $50,000 savings from what was originally proposed. So my hat's off to the director and the staff and each one of the emergency management agencies within the county that have put this together and have been able to, with their own efforts, take us to this point. And I just want to make sure that isn't lost. Because collectively we all need to make sure we're all on board. To the extent that there are individuals out there that may say, well, gee, I just want to go back to the way things were. Well, we don't use rotary dial telephones anymore either. But if you want one, you probably go to the salvage store and go find one in an antique shop. The world has changed, and this is a better system, and this will allow us the opportunity to provide better service and hopefully be able to save lives as a result in the long run. So I think it's a great move. I think it's a great way to bring this project home, and call the question.
Okay, you need to call a roll. Roll call.
Freemeyer,
Aye.
Luba,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
O'Boyle,
Aye.
Sunderbrook.
Aye.
Now the motion's closed. You want to call a roll again? We're voting on the resolution now. The other was to.
Freemeyer,
Aye.
Luba,
Aye.
Lehman,
Aye.
O'Boyle,
Aye.
Sunderbrook.
Aye. Unanimously approved? Okay. Now, the director's report. Thank you.
Okay. In addition to all of that we've been working on, that's taken up a lot of our time, and I'm sure a lot of other agencies' time. I just wanted to say thanks to all the entities that have been involved in this, because I know that they put enormous amount of staff time into this as well. I think all of us will be glad when I see this fully implemented and working well. One of the other things the other thing that we've been working on pretty heavily lately is the budget for the next upcoming year. It's in the finalization stage as to what I'm working with it. We've got some of the personnel costs for the staffing. As Mary indicated, that's going to be going in there very shortly. The county's working on a revenue stream at this time. And we'll be sending it to the board on November 4th so they can review it prior to the November 17th SECC board meeting. We've also been working on, within the next week, we'll be installing what we call a next generation recording system into the 911 center. When I wrote the RFP process for the new recorder that went into the 911 center, we had a stipulation that if they came out with a next generation system within a year of giving us a new one, that they had to replace it with the next generation one. That does us a pretty big favor, because this next generation recording system will actually capture text. It will capture pictures as the state moves to the next generation system. I'm sure you've probably heard that it'll allow in the future somebody to text 911. Sometimes when you first think of it, you think, what would be the use of that? Sometimes it's very handy when somebody cannot make noise. Let's say somebody's burglarizing somebody's house and they're locked in a closet somewhere. They can text, they can communicate. The hearing impaired people can utilize this a lot easier than using the TDD machines. So this will be installed within our system, so when the next generation network is set up by the state, we'll have the capability to capture that information on this new recording system. No charge to us. That was all included in the original contract with the recording system. Also, recently I was appointed to the technical committee up under the State Interoperable Communications Board. You might remember Chief Freeze is on that board. I'll be on one of the committees up underneath it. And presently we are reviewing 7 requests for information from companies in regards to a statewide wireless network. If you recall, all the agencies are using all these air cards at this time to link their squad cars up to the main systems. The state is presently looking at, in the future, of putting up a statewide network that would allow public safety personnel to communicate, to send data, such as pictures. And so if we get that picture via somebody on a cell phone and an officer's responding, we can actually route that out to the squad car that's responding to it. a lot of new technologies coming in with that type of thing. So I've got 7 RFIs that I'm looking at, and we'll be meeting with the board and making recommendations. At this point, what they're trying to do is come up with a plan so they can, so when grant monies do come out, that they have the ability to latch hold of some of these grants to make a lot of this possible. About a year and a half, I had applied for a grant that was on that would allow this Scott County area to get a data network, but the state of Iowa was not successful in getting that grant because they did not have a plan. So what they're doing is these 7 RFIs, they're taking a look at what they can do, and then they're going to come up with a plan as to how they can implement a data wireless system for our public safety personnel. We've also been working with the board in regards to a backup communications trailer. There's 3 areas within the state that have been pinpointed that'll house 3 trailers, one in Des Moines, one in Woodbury County, and Scott County. And these trailers would have NIPS-PAC repeaters on them with the capability of a 50-foot tower that can crank up. It would have its onboard generation on board, and it would carry approximately 50 portables with it. So if there's an emergency situation that happens and it overloads the community, they can roll this trailer out there and connect up to one of the NIPS-PAC repeaters, and then they can dish out 50 of these different radios to responders, and that could complement not just Scott County, but any area that might have an emergency on this side of the state. And that's
And
basically...
that's not at any additional cost to us.
Not at all. There's no funds. In fact, that's about $300,000. The state made the match for that. It was a federal grant, and the state made that match for this. So that's what we've been working on during the last month.
Brian, where would your houses do?
This would be up same vicinity of where the mobile command center is. That's where that would be housed. It's not a big trailer. It's only like 7 by 16, and the antenna that's on it is like one of these aluminum antennas. And so when they park it, it tilts up, and then they crank it up, and that's how that works. So if we get into an area that's difficult, let's say if you're out in LeClaire, they may not be able to get to one of the NIPS-PAC repeaters. This would allow them to do that anywhere within the county. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just have one for Brian. Hey, Brian, it sounds like you've only been working about 60 hours a week. What are you doing with the other 108 per week?
Been making sure the employees do their jobs.
Okay.
No,
Just want to make sure you're working full time.
In all fairness, we got a really good staff working on all these different items that we're working on.
Brian, I'm kidding. I think you're doing a good job.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Brian. Diane, you asked
Yes.
to approach the board.
Diane Holst from Oldridge, Iowa, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I've read a lot of get well plans in the line of business I'm in, and this document from Delta is clearly you guys are starting from scratch. It's clear this is a bottom up, start over. And it also tells me that as I've come the last few months with my questions, and I appreciate the answers that I've gotten, those are all true issues. Yet I was told, hadn't heard about them, or they've been fixed. Well, I think we know differently. I know you've read the report. You know differently. And if that's what your line people and your local people and your people in the field, if they were treated the way I was treated and dismissed in that fashion, I think you owe those folks an apology before you move forward. And that might clear an air a bit. Because I have to think that they were handled in the same fashion I was, that it didn't exist. And that's where the last 3 sentences of the summary that's been written by the director clearly say where this responsibility lies with the line people, and that's all important for cooperation amongst all the groups. And my thing I notice is that SECC is not mentioned as bearing responsibility in this whole process. And that's, I find that a real issue. And And that leads me to my last issue. I felt like the last time you questioned whether these issues existed or not. You know, you weren't quite sure whether it was real or whether folks just weren't adapting. Well, we know the answer to that. And I feel badly that you think people can come forward and speak, that the rank and file could come forward. That's not reality, sir, and it's unfortunate.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
If you read the open meetings laws and so on, we don't have to let you speak, and we've permitted you to do so. We've read the report. We know what's in the report. We appreciate your comments, but we don't appreciate the negativity. We will correct this. I told you that, so that's where we're at. If you have something new to add to us, please let us know.
Let me just say, Diane, and I think I appreciate your comments. I don't know if you're addressing these two, but I think I'm the one who said, here they lay out. Everybody's, I certainly don't have all the answers. I'm not an expert, so I appreciate your input. And I think we addressed some of those that you brought up, or those that were not, accurate or whatever, the staff explained. But certainly, I think we listened. At least I did, and I think the rest did too. So I appreciate what you had to say. We don't always agree philosophically, but I've been around long enough to know it's good to get input. Keep the staff and the technicians on their toes, and I think you sort of did that for what it's worth.
I hope it's worth something, and I hope the folks can feel this way.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Any other discussion?
I move adjourned.
Second.
Second, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody have a nice evening.
Thanks to you, Mike. Enjoy that weather out there, buddy.